Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm Andrew Scaff. He's Mike Werman. Today we're going to recap NFL's Week 2, preview Week 3. But maybe, first of all, let's start off with what were you more impressed with from the NFL? What was more telling from the NFL? The big collapses from some teams like late, or big comebacks from teams late, or just like solid play from like the Chiefs during last week? What was most interesting to you?
In terms of long-term effects, I think the Chiefs won a game that they didn't play terribly well in, and that's usually a good sign going forward. It's better to win a game you didn't play well in than to lose a game you did play well. I think the Chargers did play pretty well and they lost. Some of the big comebacks and the falling aparts, I think those made for interesting drama for the week, but I don't think they're going to be terribly telling of the future. I think maybe we just saw that Baltimore was maybe not quite as good as we thought maybe they would be. I don't know if
they look good for 3+, just over plus quarters.
Yeah, maybe they have a week that they have an Achilles heel in their secondary. Tua took over in the second half, 4 touchdown passes in the last quarter.
Tyreek Hill had 2 touchdown catches in like 2-minute period too.
Yeah, so it was a big 6 touchdown passes for Tua. I don't know if that means he's turned a corner, or if it's just another, sort of a blip where we had, big touchdown days from people like Matt Flynn and Nick Foles in the past, 10-15 years. But and then we saw the Raiders collapse, which I'm sure you delighted you to no end.
Very much so.
And it made that Cardinals victory actually made the Chiefs Week 1 victory look a little bit better in retrospect.
Yeah.
Since people were thinking, I was thinking maybe the Cardinals were just terrible when they were down 20-0 to the Raiders. But what do you think? Do you think we learned anything from Week 2?
I have absolutely no idea what's happening for most of the NFL right now. So, all of my sure things that I thought were basically facts have not come through at all. I didn't expect the Browns to look this bad, or Cincinnati to be that bad either.
Yeah, the Browns fell apart against the Jets in the last couple of minutes.
Well, I guess they could have taken a knee.
Yeah, they could
essentially, or just wasted time, and they chose not to, and then give 2 touchdowns after
it was bad. And
an onside kick recovery even in the middle.
It was bad. I think we knew that with Brissett, they weren't going to be a high-scoring team, and they probably needed to hang on and kind of win some close games. What surprised me was that Cincinnati has been so bad.
Or the Colts have been so bad too. That's what
Colts have been really bad. Yeah, some of those teams that we thought would be contenders in the AFC have turned out to be pretty bad. The Titans also have turned out to be pretty bad so far. They got blown out by the Bills, and then they lost to the Giants, who turned out to be who have a 2-0 record, just like their counterparts in the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe both of those teams are looking at the playoffs now, since Dallas is a bit down still, even though they beat the Bengals. Remains to be seen what Dallas really has with Cooper Rush.
You should shed your modesty for a moment, though, and congratulate yourself for declaring the Giants a playoff contender after Week 1, and confident win in Week 2, and not a terrible matchup for Week 3 coming.
Yeah, Monday night matchup against the Cowboys at Giants Stadium. Saquon didn't have as good a game in Week 2 as he did in Week 1, but the Giants still won, despite also not getting very much from some of the receivers that we thought would be more bigger contributors. But they've won 2 games. So maybe again the NFC is not very strong in a lot of, I think, from top to bottom, certainly. Maybe a couple of really good teams in the NFC. I think Tampa looks pretty good again. Green Bay sort of probably righted the ship against Chicago, although that's hard to say. Chicago might just be really bad. The Rams kind of got things back together, although they really had to hang on at the end against Atlanta. at home. So it's hard to say what's going on in the NFC. The Eagles looked good against the Vikings, who looked good against the Packers. So it's hard to say really what's going on, I think.
When the Packers bounce back nicely against a maybe not very great Bears team, but they did win. They didn't start out 0-2.
And had the Bears gotten that very close touchdown call where Fields may have crossed the goal line and they didn't call it as a touchdown on the field, maybe that game would have turned out to be a little bit different. For our picks, I think we both wanted Chicago to cover, even if they we didn't think they would win. But our picks last weekend left something to be desired. Let's say that.
That's putting it mildly.
I did get one right.
You did get one. I was going to ask you too before we jump into that. Do the 49ers playoff expectations improve with the injury?
I think they do. I think Lance is long term probably, but maybe a better quarterback, at least in theory, than Garoppolo. But with Garoppolo, you have a known quantity, and you have a playoff team in San Francisco that does very well. They didn't win the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, but they came pretty close. They were in the NFC Championship game last year. So I think you can say that the 49ers should be a playoff team with Garoppolo. I think maybe even they take a step forward this year. Long term, losing Lance probably hurts, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I think actually it helped. I think having Garoppolo there, as will make the 49ers a higher scoring team this
year. What do you think about the Chiefs actually having a full game lead in the division already?
Well, that's pretty good. It seems like they would have to have one if since they beat the Chargers. Had they lost to the Chargers, they'd be down a game. That was I think it was a solid victory. Even again, I think the Chiefs didn't play particularly well, particularly in the first half, but they were only down 10-7 at the half. They're down 17-7 early in the third quarter. But the second half, maybe thanks to a couple of injuries on the line for the Chargers, they finally got to Herbert. By the end of the game, Herbert was injured, although it didn't seem to really affect him on certain throws. But it's a good. I think it's a good sign that the Chiefs could hang in there even if they weren't playing their A game. Those Thursday night games are always crazy, and I think oftentimes it's the road team that actually has the advantage on Thursday night because that's how the scores have turned out. The road team wins, I think, more often on Thursdays than they other nights of the week.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I've looked at that before.
I think that was true up until last year. Last year, I think home team started to win more, but I think prior to that, it was the road team that often won on Thursday night. The Chiefs won on the road against the Chargers on Thursday night last year in Week 15. I think the Chargers have won on Thursday night in Kansas City before.
Yeah.
So it's I think the road teams do pretty well on Thursdays. And I'm not sure why that's the case. But it seems to be something that occurs, and maybe we'll keep an eye on that over the season. We'll see how many times the road team wins on Thursday night.
This this was the season that seemed like most people were expecting the AFC West to become even more competitive. I'm a little surprised to see the Chiefs up on top this early, at least anyway. I thought it'd be, there'd be more than one team at 2-0 is what my guess would be.
The Broncos maybe should be 2-0. They played pretty bad teams in Seattle and Houston, but they have a new coach who may be incompetent. We hinted at that earlier, talking about the doltish sons of formerly successful coaches, and I would say Paul Hackett wasn't even a really successful offensive coordinator. He was bounced around a lot of times, but I don't think he was ever a great coordinator. His son maybe is a better coordinator than Hackett, but he was coming from Green Bay, again, I don't see the fascination with the Green Bay system. Their offense isn't very good, and
Hmm.
so it's hard. I think. Did you watch the Sunday night broadcast? Uh,
I was
but it was,
I was in and out of it, so
um,
I tried to
I
watch it,
think
but I
they
just I
talked
had a hard
about
time.
how Aaron Rodgers really liked uh, Nathaniel Hackett, but it wasn't because of his football abilities. It was because he was fun to be around and was a good drinking buddy. So I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm not sure if that endorsement goes a long way or not.
that seems to be how a lot of Americans decide their political uh, where their votes lie politically.
Yeah, who you want to have a
Candidate
drink?
they'd like to have a beer with.
Yeah, I'm having a beer right now with you, I guess, virtually. So
Virtually, virtually, yes.
keeps me from slipping into alcoholism. Um,
You're also not voting for me for office, though. I think right now.
I'd vote for you over a lot of people. Probably most,
Depends on who the opponent is, I suppose, right?
yeah, pretty much anybody probably. Yeah.
So yeah, let's review our terrible picks from last week's betting competition.
Okay, I'll start since I got one correct. I missed two, so I was 1 and 2 for the second consecutive week. But the one I got correct was Houston at +10. They lost to the Denver Broncos 16-9. I didn't think Houston was probably going to win, but I felt like the Broncos offense, even charitably, we'll treat them charitably, has not yet gelled under Russell. Perhaps they will get better as the season goes on and Nathaniel Hackett kind of figures out what's going on. But right now, they don't look terribly powerful on offense. So I didn't think they'd be able to blow out Houston, especially since Houston looked a little bit better than we thought against Indianapolis in Week 1. We thought Indianapolis was a decent team, and they ended up tying Indianapolis at home. Davis Mills has been proven to be a quarterback who hasn't turned the ball over. So Houston might not be as terrible as advertised. And I think Denver is not as good as advertised. So that's why I went with the Houston at +10. My other two picks, one of which I shared with you, the Chicago +10. That didn't work for either of us, Andrew.
Right.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that pick?
Yeah, the game I thought was not exciting in any way. That was one that I tried to watch at least part of it anyway. But yeah. I don't know. The Bears offense just doesn't seem to do anything.
They have no passing attack.
Yeah.
And they're tight. I have Cole Kmet on one of my fantasy teams, and he has produced 0 points 2 weeks in a row.
Wow. That's not
And
good.
he has had no catches. They Mooney is probably their best. Darnell Mooney's probably their best target. He has only a few catches. They don't throw the ball. They don't. And then they can run the ball pretty well. Montgomery had a pretty good game, but it's hard to run the ball effectively if there's no passing threat
They have a
whatsoever.
mobile quarterback though.
Yeah, but they don't use them very well.
They can't seem to find a way to use them correctly. It seems like. But,
yeah, I don't know if Eberflus is
and that was with the change in offensive coordinator too, right?
Yeah, changing head coach, changing coordinator, new system.
It's like almost identical results though from what it.
Yeah, it looks like Matt Nagy was there still, and they were struggling on offense. So that was again, maybe I think the Bears were unlucky not to get a touchdown on one of their drives toward the end of the game, but that would have given us a push had they gotten 27-17. But fortunately,
that was we were chatting during that, right, via text about
yes.
Whether or not they should have given that touchdown essentially to the Bears just to make the game more interesting, right?
Yeah, I think that's what the conspiracy theorists in us want to believe, but they didn't cooperate this time.
Well, it seems like the officials essentially decided the game was over with about 9 minutes to go, rather than just make a call that would make it slightly more interesting anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
we did talk about how the Sunday night, why do um, the scheduling gods think that we want to see Chicago Green Bay so much in prime time when Chicago is not very good, and the games between Chicago and Green Bay aren't particularly close usually. I don't know why that was the Sunday night game. Green Bay is a big national draw. Chicago, I guess, is a big population center, but those two teams,
But really, it's a regional game. I mean, the two cities are only a couple hours apart, depending on traffic, I guess. But
yeah, it's
so I mean, you can actually drive between the two stadiums. So those two fan bases are very nearby each other, and they are rivals. Whether
it's the oldest rivalry in the NFL,
yeah.
but it's the Bears haven't been good, and it didn't seem like they were going to be good this year. So it seems strange that this is the big Sunday night matchup that I guess people wanted to see. But
It does seem like there's a more. I guess it's more interesting. It's not a rivalry by any means. A matchup for this Sunday night game is 49ers at Broncos.
yeah, I think they thought both of those teams would be pretty good. It's Russell Wilson facing off against um, the 49ers again. The Seahawks have been able to beat the 49ers quite a bit recently, even though the 49ers have had more success. So I can see why that game was a Sunday night game. But looking at it now, both of the teams look, let's say, wobbly so far. The 49ers lost to Chicago, albeit in a weird weather game with not perhaps their best quarterback. Now they have their better quarterback, I think, for this year. That should be an interesting game.
The Monday night game does not look terribly interesting on paper, at least anyway, with the Cowboys and Giants. That's a division rivalry, but nationally, I don't think anyone really cares about that game, do they?
Well, Cowboys are the Cowboys. Giants are a big city. The Giants are maybe awakening this year. They're maybe can work their way into 3-0 position. The Cowboys, maybe I think people just want to watch the Cowboys fail. So maybe that's the draw there.
If you're picking
But
from
yeah,
the matchups, though, you'd think the Packers Bucks game would be one of the prime draw games, at least anyway. The two
yeah,
aging, but still near the top of their game or at the top of their game. Quarterbacks
yeah.
close enough.
That's the national game on Fox. Sometimes the networks, the 4 o'clock games are actually the biggest games of the weekend, and the Sunday night games are sometimes second fiddle. But sometimes it depends. I think the way I'm not exactly sure how the rotation works and how the teams get to pick their games, how the networks get to pick their games. But yeah, I think the matchups look somewhat interesting, maybe more interesting this week than last week overall. Yeah, the Bills Dolphins, both 2-0.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens Patriots might be interesting. Seeing, if the Ravens can recover from their kind of meltdown at the end of the game against the Dolphins, and the Patriots, are they really as bad as they seem?
I think that one is accurate.
We
I was not impressed with the Patriots.
also have a Thursday night game. That's another regional clash between the Steelers and the Browns. Um, not Neither team has looked great, but each team is 1-1 at least, and one of the teams is going to be 2-1 probably. And maybe we'll see if my idea that the road team does better on Thursday night holds up. Maybe we'll see a new quarterback in Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett, coming and replacing Mitch Trubisky, or maybe Trubisky will turn it around. Hard to say.
It's another extremely low scoring over under projection for that Thursday night game.
39, yeah.
39 points.
So 20. For 2017, you'd still be able to get the under. Do you like the under in that? Was this one?
Oh, I don't think either team can really score, so I have that the under there might actually be reasonable. But yeah,
The Steelers have
and I guess with
scored.
the Steelers, is Watt still?
Watt's still hurt. He'll be out for
Out, right?
another few weeks. but the Steelers defense, held the Patriots in check. I don't know if the Browns have a good running game, but I don't think Brissett is setting the world on fire. But the Browns have scored 56 points in their first 2 games. So their offense is humming. It seems like, at least at some level. So maybe like the over. Maybe it'll be 24-17, something like that. That would hit the over.
And cover if Cleveland
If Cleveland won, or if the Steelers won
yeah.
24-17,
Yeah.
or somehow that would. I might, if this isn't one of my picks. If I had to do it, I would take Cleveland. I would take Steelers with the points and over.
And the over on that one too, huh?
Yeah, I'd do over and Steelers. I think it's gonna be like 23-20 or something like that. Yeah, same score that the Steelers beat the Bengals by. I could see that as an outcome. But that's not one I want to. It's Thursday night. I don't want to mess with Thursday night.
Yeah, understand.
How about your second game that you? So we both talked about Chicago, Green Bay. You also had.
I took what I thought was basically a sure thing with the. I thought the Bengals would run all over Dallas with no quarterback, and I thought the Bengals would bounce back after their first week loss, and that didn't happen at all.
The Bengals looked as bad as they didn't have the turnovers, but they did against they didn't get against Pittsburgh, against Dallas, but the offensive line looks terrible. Joe Burrow keeps taking sack after sack. Is it that he's not able to escape? Is it that he's not able to feel the pressure? It's hard to say. Dallas has a pretty good defense, but when I don't think anybody saw Cooper Rush leading Dallas to an easy victory.
No, not I. Anyway.
The line, shifted from Dallas. I think was -2 before Dak Prescott got hurt, before they played the Bucks, and then what was it? 7.5.
The Bengals, yeah, -7.5.
Bengals -7.5. So they were more than a touchdown favorites and got really blown out. So yeah, the Bengals have been very disappointing. They play the Jets next week. You think the Jets, beat the Browns? Do you think they can beat the Bengals and complete the Ohio sweep?
I think, yeah, it's certainly possible. I wouldn't expect it. It's hard to see the Bengals bouncing, like having that like revenge sort of mentality right now, the way they've not played well the first 2 weeks. I can see the Jets playing all right, actually, just to be spiteful, keeping the garbage pile on Cincinnati.
Well, Joe Flacco will be the better Joe at quarterback than Joe Burrow.
I mean, they have a Joe Mixon too, right? So there's a
Joe Mixon, yeah. If the Jets win, is there a quarterback controversy in New York? Is Zach Wilson going to be benched when he comes back, since Flacco seems to be playing so well?
What they tend to not do that, right? They tend to not unseat the quarterback typically, right? I mean, it happens, but it's usually the younger guy unseats the older injured player, not the reverse, right?
Yeah. Flacco has 5 touchdowns, 1 interception this year, has a 90 quarterback rating. So maybe, I think maybe they milk the injury to Wilson just a little longer. Maybe they keep Flacco.
Just see how it goes. Make sure
he's fully healthy before they bring him back.
Yes, all the way back.
I don't know. Cincinnati's favored on the road by 4.5 at the Jets. I don't know if I like that very much. That's one that I looked at and thought maybe I'd take the Jets, but that wasn't one of my picks. But let's talk about. I'll talk about we glanced over it earlier. I'll talk about my second losing pick of last week was Seattle. I had Seattle +10 against the 49ers. I expected Trey Lance to be on the field, he gets carted off fairly early, and I think that actually hurt my chances on offense. I think they're more explosive on offense.
Because
At
the
least turned
49ers
out.
ended up winning by 20 in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, the Seahawks aren't very good. Even though Geno Smith, I think, is leading the league in completion percentage.
Is that right?
I think he's got a
Nothing deep though, I assume. Right?
no completion percentage right now. Geno Smith has 81 completion percentage, 47 out of 58, 100 only 200 less than 200 yards a game though. 2 touchdowns, one interception.
The longest completion from the game against the 49ers was a 27-yard pass to Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Smith has a 38 long this year, which I guess he got against the Broncos. I don't remember that play particularly, but
Geno Smith did outpass Garoppolo in the game. Garoppolo's only 13-21, 154 yards.
yeah, with the defense, I guess that was enough to win. So it's a little surprising that they covered. Again, I don't blame my instincts. I blame the teams that didn't perform, because I'm narcissist, I suppose.
You follow the philosophy of Michael Bolton from Office Space and why should I change my name? He's the one that sucks.
Yes. Why should I change my strategy? The teams are the ones that suck.
There you go.
How about your third final pick was the you picked the Raiders to come to were they minus
no,
6?
I picked Pittsburgh to cover
Pittsburgh. I was thinking you picked the Raiders.
1.5 point spread against the Patriots.
Ooh, yeah, that didn't look good.
And that game was pretty ugly. It was, I mean, more or less, it hinged on one play in the first half that Pittsburgh Steelers defender went up for a ball. It got through his hands right to the receiver that caught it for touchdown pass.
Yeah, over his head. Yeah, that was a pretty remarkable catch.
It I think the game turned basically on that one play.
That play, and then the former New England Patriot turned Pittsburgh to a punt returner, fumbled or muffed the ball, hit him in the face.
Right, the face mask.
And that helped New England continue a drive that they scored on. So yeah, I think Pittsburgh's looking bad. New England's looking bad too, and I think that was a little bit of unluck. But
so
Patriots.
I am in need of a fresh strategy for my picks now, sitting at 1-5 for the season.
Well, you've lost 400 imaginary dollars. I'm sitting at 2-4 and lost 200 imaginary dollars. So I'm sitting pretty, at least relatively. I haven't thrown my money away yet. As much money away, I guess. But this is why this is why that we follow the maxim. You know, if you're losing, keep betting, because your luck might turn around. That's how real gamblers do it, I'm sure.
Keep digging the hole.
Keep digging that hole. You might dig your way out. Yes.
So strategy wise, what do you think? Should I double down on my one successful pick, or should I George Costanza this and whatever my instinct is, do the exact opposite?
Well, I think if you could try doing both of those, I think that would be the ideal approach. Do the opposite plus double down on the Chiefs and see what happens. I don't think normally you would want to double down on the Chiefs, especially this week when they're on the road. You know, Indianapolis looks bad, but they can't be this bad, right? Or can they?
They certainly could be, but it doesn't seem like that's possible, does it?
I don't. Yeah, I thought they'd be okay. I thought they'd be an okay team. But they've really picked up where they left off last season when they lost basically the playoff play-in game to Jacksonville at the end of the season, and they've lost another two more away contests to mediocre at best divisional opponents.
Including a very not so great game.
horrible game against Jacksonville.
this week. Yeah, getting shut out, right?
Shut out against Jacksonville. Yeah.
Is it 24-0?
24-0.
But or maybe Jacksonville just isn't as bad as how bad they have been recently.
Well, they had Urban Meyer in that debacle last year, so they got to, sort of like at least a dead cat bounce, right?
For their sake, hopefully.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence seems to be healthier, I assume.
And Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach, maybe. The running back situation's a little healthier. It's hard to. They brought in Christian Kirk, their high-priced free agent that sent the free agent world into a frenzy and caused Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill to get traded.
That's true.
And huge contracts because Christian Kirk made so much money on his.
Or was that just the price to bring anyone into Jacksonville?
It could be too. So what you
right? I think I have my strategy set now. Yeah.
You have your strategy set. Okay.
Should we go ahead and reveal our week 3 picks then?
Yeah, I have 3 picks that I think I like. One thing I did is change my strategy a little bit is to focus a little bit more on the over-unders this week. My first pick that I like is a game that's probably one of the better games of the weekend is the Packers at the Buccaneers. Right now it's Tampa Bay -1.5, over under 42. When I first saw it, I think it was Tampa -2 and the over under was 41. But even at 42, I still like the over on that one. I think this game is going to be something at least like 24-20. I know the Bucs defense is pretty good, but the Packers are better than the Saints are. I think the Buccaneers offense will finally look a little better than it has the last couple of weeks too. So I see that as going over 42. I'd say at least, I'd say 28, 24, 28, 21, even 24-20. That'll get it up there.
Those aren't crazy scores.
No, you have 2 of the best quarterbacks in the game. You have 2 solid offenses, 2 decent defenses, but I think
these are actually pretty conservative scores for a game with that quality of quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's
like you said, their defenses at both are pretty decent.
I think that's maybe why the line has gone up to 42, started at 41, and so I think people are going the over. So I don't know if you want to be on the public side or the majority side on this, but I am anyway. So I'd say over 42. Packers Bucks. How about you, Andrew? What's your top bet?
So I think first I think I need to do the double down on what my only success has been so far this season, and go back to the Chiefs. And I'll take the same style of pick I took last time too. Chiefs are -6.5. I will take that.
Do you think the Chiefs will win by a touchdown or more against the Colts?
I don't think that seems crazy at all. I could see this being a blowout type game. I could see it being relatively close, but I still think the Chiefs will be able to cover the 6.5 point spread.
Okay.
They are only 1-1 against the spread this year.
Yeah,
so far.
they didn't cover against the Chargers. Partly because I think the Chargers committed a strategic error at the end of the game. I think the Chargers I think the Chiefs were favored by 6. Was that what it ended up being?
I think so.
And the Chargers were down by 10 late in the game. They had a 4th down and several yards to go. They decided to go for the touchdown and go and then kick the onside kick and try to recover it and get a field goal to tie. They should have, however, kicked the field goal right there. And because again, if they miss the touchdown, the game's over. The Chiefs have the ball and they're going to win. If they kick the field goal, they're down by 7, and they still need to get the onside kick. But they're not out of the game by kicking the field goal. If had they, yes, they could have missed the field goal as well. But
Mhm.
I think the touchdown play on fourth down was more difficult to accomplish than a field goal would have been.
Right.
So had Brandon Staley played the percentages, the Chiefs would have covered. But and that's why I stick with that one reason why.
The line was actually just -4.
It was -4. It was
And
-4.
so they missed by just 1 point.
Missed by 1 point.
And
Yeah.
by kicking the field goal, not going for the touchdown, they also kept it on the under side as well. 52.5 was the over under, and the final score 27-24 fell just a point and a half shy of the over under line.
Mm.
So
They would have kept it under either way.
yeah, gambling conspiracy theories perhaps play into this as well.
Yeah. So you said you doubled down on the Chiefs Colts game. Does that mean you're gonna give an over under pick for Chiefs
So
Colts?
this will be where I go both doubling down and against my typical strategy. I usually avoid over unders, so I'm going to take an over under on this game also. And to go further against what I would normally do, I'm going to take the under on the game, which I never take the under. Typically, I guess
It's always under until it's over.
I'll take the under the over under for the game's 49.5. Yeah, I'm going to take the under on that one.
So you think the Chiefs will cover, but maybe keep the Colts low scoring? You think it'll be a 30-14 type of game?
I like that. It sounds great. Let's aim for that.
Even 35-14, that would keep it under.
should I go full Casey Homer? I'd say the final score will be like 49-0.
7 touchdowns. Yeah, they'll still keep. Yeah, that would be an ideal victory for you. I think you'd probably rather just for your heart's sake have a 38-0 win rather than a 49-0 win, just to keep it healthily
right
under. You don't want a random rogue interception return.
They get the last touchdown on an interception return, but then on the ensuing kickoff, Indy returns it for a touchdown to push it over, right?
Yeah, you don't want that. So you want under in Kansas City -6.5.
Sounds good.
I think if I had to pick that game, I might do the same. So that doesn't maybe bode well for your chances since we're both thinking the same thing. But that's not the game that I want to pick though. I want to take the team that the Chiefs beat on Thursday and go with them and go with the Chargers against the aforementioned Jacksonville Jaguars. The Chargers are favored at home.
Can we call them the streaking Jaguars? Because
Yeah.
they've now won one in a row.
Well, they won one in a row. I think you need 2 to be a streak, but for Jaguars, 1 might be a streak. They played 2 pretty good games. They played a pretty good game against Washington, and they beat Indianapolis. So maybe they're riding high. I'll say I'll go as much as saying the Jaguars are riding high. I don't know if they're streaking, but they're riding high on their way into Los Angeles to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, anyway. And they're playing the Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 7 in that game, which seems a little low to me. And I think the Chargers are probably going to want to, I think Herbert will probably be somewhat recovered from his rib cartilage injury by then. Keenan Allen might play as well. I think the Chargers might be angry. And for once, it seems like the Chargers won't be outnumbered at home because I don't think there are any Jaguars fans outside of Jacksonville or London, perhaps. The Jaguars home away from home. So I think maybe the stadium will be pro Chargers. They'll have actually a home game. So I think all those things lead me to say the Chargers at -7 is a good bet.
Is that your bold prediction for this week? The Chargers home game will be a pro home team game.
I think they will be. Yeah, I think the Chargers will be. There'll be more Chargers fans. Let's say noticeably more Chargers fans than Jaguars fans there, which is very different from when the Chargers play, say the Raiders or even the Chiefs. Sometimes it seems like they're fighting against their own. They don't have much of a following in Los Angeles. The Rams are clearly the favorite team.
Well,
in
LA
LA.
is a destination city,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
fans are willing to travel, not just having displaced fans that live in that city.
They probably have also. It's a big city, so a lot of displaced fans as well. So, but Jacksonville, small metro area population, not a rabid fan base. I like the Chargers at -7.
All right. So then let's see. For my third pick, I believe I'm going to stay with the George Costanza method and find a very low scoring predicted game and then take an under on that one also.
Ooh.
So I think I'm going to go to the Texans Bears game. I don't know where any points are coming from there. Over under in that game is 40.5. Bears are favored in that game by 3.
It's at Chicago.
It is at home. They do have a win between the two teams, so chances are one of those teams will win that game. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring in that game, so I'm going to take the under on that one as well.
I actually kind of like the under on that one too. So if I had to pick, yeah, I don't think either team has an offense that's been very prolific so far. The Texans have scored a combined 29 points in their first 2 games. The Bears have also scored a combined 29 points in their 2 games. So if they play to their average, that will be 14 and a half. There'll be a 29 over under.
Yes.
So a 15-14 game is very much in the cards, I think. 17-14, 20-10 even, one of those low.
And if you look at their defensive numbers, the teams have given up, Texans could give up 36 points in the 2 games. Bears give 37 points in the 2 games. So even if you look
very
at
close
defensive numbers, that would still be under.
They play average on offense and average on defense. Yeah. Maybe so we have an 18, we have a 18-14. 18 is an unlikely score, but 17-14 game.
You don't know. There could be 9 safeties. You don't know.
20-13 game, something like
that. I'm rooting for a 9 safety game, just so you
9
know.
safeties. Rather than 6 field goals.
Yes, 9 safeties would be very exciting.
I think that would by far break whatever NFL record would be.
Yeah, that might be one of the only reasons that game would be entertaining to watch, for my opinion, at least anyway.
The NFL team record for most safeties in a game is 3.
That seems high.
All occurred when the Rams recorded 3 safeties against the New York Giants on September 30th, 1984. The individual record is 2 safeties for one player by the Rams. Fred Dreyer against the Green Bay Packers in 1973. Do you know what Fred Dreyer's claim to fame is after football?
I do not.
He was, of course, TV's Hunter in the 1980s.
Really?
He became the detective tough guy Hunter. He also appeared in several episodes of Cheers as a sports guy too. It's just a little flavor there, but yeah. 9 safeties would triple the NFL record.
I like it. It's gonna happen, Mike. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. So it's 3 safeties for both teams, and the Rams got three safeties on their own against the Giants. So it's The most safeties scored by all teams is 26 across the league in 1988.
In a whole season, you're saying?
The whole season.
Combined NFL effort for one season?
Mm-hmm.
It's 20. Wow. Interesting. How about your third pick here?
My third pick is definitely not predicting 9 safeties in a game.
Hmm.
My right now, I think my third pick is also an over under, and it's an over under where I will, like you, bet the under. However, it's a total that I think it's a high total, and I think it's a little too high given the teams that are playing. This is the Lions Vikings game. The
Ooh.
Lions at the Vikings. The over under is 53.5. And even though the Lions have been high scoring this year so far, I think at Minnesota's got a pretty good defense. Minnesota also doesn't have a great offense, as shown against Philadelphia last night. So I like the under. Lions Vikings under. Divisional game. Usually those are low scoring, I think. The Lions right now, I think, are tied with the Chiefs with the most points put up in 2 weeks. 71.
Hmm.
So
That is correct. The Vikings have only scored 30 points this season. So the Lions average is 35.5 points per game. Vikings have scored less than that in their 2 games.
yeah, so Vikings have scored 30 points in
Mhm.
2 games. So 15, even if you take their averages 15 plus 35.5, that's
Mhm.
only gets us to 50.5. So it's still, you still need a field goal. I don't, and Minnesota's favored by 6 as well. So if I had to pick a double bet, I might do Lions plus 6 in the under, but I think I'm more confident with the under.
If you do that same mathematical exercise with their defensive points allowed, would still be the under. So
I like the under there. And also I don't think that much of the Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins matchup, and I think they're both serviceable, average to below average quarterbacks. Maybe Cousins is average to above average sometimes, at least if it's not a night game, if it's not a primetime game. He seems to shrink in the spotlight. As So maybe a 1 o'clock game on Fox that nobody's watching, he might shine, but I still think it's going to be under 53.5.
yeah, I'm not. I won't. Yeah, I don't know which game they're going to be televising here.
It'll be, I don't know if they televise one opposite the Chiefs.
I don't think. I really think they don't. I think that's how it works. So they'll have
So
2 games at 3 p.m.
Chiefs are 1 There are only 2 options. Three options for CBS, or 4 options, 4 options at CBS at 1 p.m. Chiefs, Colts, Raiders, Titans, and Ravens, Patriots, Texans, Bears. Well, there are 5. There are a lot of 1 o'clock games this week,
Mhm.
and of course the Bills Dolphins is the big one. Oh, Ravens Patriots is on Fox, even though both are AFC teams. That's interesting.
Right.
That's interesting. Usually you'd think they'd be on CBS, but I guess the way it shook out, they need a Fox.
Guess so.
I think Bills Dolphins will probably be the one that a lot of people got, because both of them are 2-0, and Buffalo is favored by 5.5, but it's supposed to be 86 degrees, so maybe Buffalo will be overheated.
Does that matter this time of year? Do they?
I think Miami's difficult to play in September for cold weather teams, or even teams that have not been hot weather teams.
Mhm.
I don't know. It seems like maybe they'll be. Supposedly, it's difficult to play in Florida in September.
I thought maybe you would go to that Cowboys Giants game. I thought that might be where you're headed for one of these
Ooh,
picks.
Giants minus 2.5. I think maybe pick the Giants by a field goal at least. The over under, it's really low, 239.5.
Also very low, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like the over on that one. I might stay with the under, but it could surprise us and be a high scoring game too. I'll stay away from it and go with what I picked. Packers Bucks over 42, Chargers minus 7, and under Lions Vikings 53.5. Stick with those 3.
But there was a strategy that you could have employed here, was just to see whatever I picked and then just take the exact opposite bet, and then you'd basically be guaranteed a decent shot, I think.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to jinx you or jinx myself by picking the opposite. So
That is risky because if it does flip, then you're gonna get you'd get like double up basically on the how it affects your um like full season averages, right?
yeah, I think I'm going to
You,
keep going with my
you
1 and 2
open the door for me
weeks.
to
Yeah,
climb back in. Not that I'm that far behind, but
I'll just go with my steady losses rather than my possible hemorrhaging uh, losses. And so if I lose $100 each week, I'll be minus 1,700 for the season, or minus 1,800 for 18 weeks in the NFL season.
correct.
But I think some of those 1 and 2s might start turning into 2 and 1s. The odds are, even if I flipped a coin, I could get 50%, but maybe that's what I'll resort to if
See,
it keeps going down.
what kind of winning percentage would you need to see to start your own account somewhere, rather than just call these theoretical bets, but actually make them turn them?
I think you need to. I think you need to win about 54% of the time to make money.
Doesn't seem like it's that hard.
Yeah,
54%. That's not crazy.
If I could get close to 50%, I wouldn't lose that much money. So maybe it'll be fun enough to play if I sort of broke even.
Yeah. Is there betting in either of the states that you
Pennsylvania
gonna
has
be
it.
in?
Pennsylvania has the sports betting.
Yeah.
I think Maryland may have started as well.
Because yeah, in my area, yeah, Kansas just passed, or I guess they passed earlier last year or early this year. They passed in sports gambling, and it's now available starting at the beginning of September. I've yet to place a bet. I was kind of waiting to see how this went, but I still nearly did it last week anyway. But yeah, I'm hoping to see a little bit more of a turnaround before I decide to jump in over there.
I think you can go to casinos and bet in Maryland.
They have sports books at the local casinos.
I think that some horse racing tracks, but it hasn't. It's. I think it's more restrictive than Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is fairly wide open. You can, at least if you're in the state, I think it's like Kansas. Yeah, if you are at least within the state of Pennsylvania, you can. And you're on a website. I think you can make a bet.
As long as you have your location services turned on.
Yes.
So yeah, in Missouri, they don't have sports betting, but they have daily fantasy is allowed. But you have to have a credit card that's located in the state to be able to fund your account to start it, and then your IP has to be in the state also. But it's no sports betting in Missouri yet, although they've apparently been trying to get a bill through Congress, through the state legislature, but it has not passed yet. They have chosen to lose out on a lot of taxable revenue.
Missouri's chosen to lose out on a lot of things in the last few years.
But losing to the state of Kansas is especially bad. So
Kansas is starting to look a little more progressive than Missouri is even lately, politically.
Possibly a lot more. I think little maybe.
They're traditionally Republican, but they aren't Trumpy Republican, whereas the Missouri Republicans are very Trumpy.
There are very Trumpy people in Kansas and in the legislature, but there actually are some relatively progressive people, and they've elected Democrat governors multiple times in the last couple of decades.
Yeah, Missouri used to do that too, but not lately.
I don't know if they will for a while. That's my expectation, at least anyway.
Yeah. Even with politics aside, how are you feeling about your bets this week?
Well, I'm not terribly confident about anything, but I like that I've decided to change up the strategy and not stick with the same strategy. I'm hoping that I can start to see a turnaround is all. That's my goal. Just not bottoming out like last week. 0-3 is not a great look for me. Strategy wise, time for change.
Time for a change. Changing a bit with the over and unders. I'd only been doing spreads before, but I still got. I still think I'm just looking for the best that I can find, best value, and I don't know. I don't know if that strategy is going to pay off or not.
So we'll be checking back in next week to see how that goes.
Yeah, we should check in back next week. Are you ready to sign off, Andrew?
I think so.
Well, that's been another exciting weekly episode of the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Warning Track Power Hour. Of course, please like and or subscribe to our many different platforms that we have our podcast on, including our YouTube channel. And we'll see you again next week. Happy NFL season. How did that go?
That was great. Happy week 3.
Happy week 3, I should have said.
Go on.
Whatever. I blew it just like the Raiders blew it against the Cardinals.
Ouch. Not like the Raiders did. Oh no. Oh. Is that the correct amount of feigned sympathy for Raiders?
Yeah.